So performing risk analysis to what? One, determine the test techniques to be employed. So when we do risk analysis on the product risk analysis, based on that, we determine what test techniques we are going to use. Yes,
Yes.
helping to determine the test techniques to be used. Yes. So how you are going to do testing? Yes, based on the requirements and based on the product risks we have. Based on that, we will determine what techniques we are going to use. White box, black box, etc. etc. Yes. At the same time, if you are going to use one of the test design technique, yes, equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis. So based on the risk, you can determine what techniques you are going to use. Prioritize the test. How you can prioritize the test? The more risk you have on the requirements, or the more risk you find, more defects you find in certain areas, those test cases you will be able to prioritize. Yes. So the tests linked to some requirements. Yes, to a specific requirement, and that the specific requirements, the specific requirement might be of high risk. Yes. If that specific requirement of high risk, then all the related test cases you can prioritize and execute them first. It will help you to find critical defects ASAP. Yes, it will help you to identify or find the critical defects ASAP. Determine the extent of testing to be carried out. Based on the risk, we can determine. It helping to determine how much testing is done. Yes, needs to be done. How much
Means coverage measurement.
needs to be, where did I
Oh,
put?
bridges way.
Yes.
How much testing need to be done means it is the measurement coverage.
No, how much means, you can say measurement coverage, but at the same time, uh, how many test cases you want to execute, how many test cases you want to prepare, how much time you want to spend designing the test cases. So you are correct. Based on the requirements, how many requirements we are covering. If it is white box, then white box related coverage. Your question was straightforward. Yes, coverage. Based on the coverage, based on the test requirements coverage we have, based on that only we will design the test cases. Yes.
Yeah.
And when we design the test cases, what happens? We will execute them. How much time we are going to spend testing? Any question?
Okay.
Any other question?
But what is performing product risk analysis? Means what is the meaning of this one? It
Per,
will help this one. What is
yes.
the meaning?
So here it says performing product risk analysis will help you. So we have the product. Yes.
Yes.
We are going to deliver.
Yeah.
We make a list of risk the product is going to face. We
What is the
will
risk?
make a list of the risks the product is going to face or have. Yes, as for example, if you are working I'm thinking how can I explain you.
Mm,
Okay. Yes, you are going to use internet banking. Yes.
yes.
Then two, three risk we can identify. One, user is unable to log in. Whatever functionalities you have, if it does not perform, that is a product risk of the product, means user can't log in. Yes,
Okay.
cannot log in. This is a product risk. Another is user unable to transfer the fund. Yes.
Yes.
Then what happens? Then you can think of the balance is not displayed correctly. Yes.
Yeah.
The transactions details are not up to date. So these are the simple risks we can identify for online banking. But it might be having, not it might, it has more. Because it is
Mm,
online banking, the most important is what if data breach occurs? Yes. Unauthorized access occurs. Yes. Etc. Etc. So what happens with this one? It has so many databases, and these data are coming from the different databases, and they go to the different services. So what if these services don't perform as per the expectation? They are the risk. So you need to make a list of these risks, and based on that, it will help you to determine how much testing is requirement, what test techniques you are going to use. Yes. And when
yes.
you do risk analysis, something is that data breach occurs and unauthorized access can occur. So based on that, you prioritize the test cases for the security stuff. Yes, security
Yeah.
testing. So far, these all three topics come from this one with this example.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
determine any non-testing activities could be employed to reduce risk. Yes, helps to determine any non-testing activities required. Non-testing activities required. Simple. As for example,
Non-testing activity.
providing training to someone. This is
Okay.
not a testing activity. Yes. If a
Yes.
new user comes, it's not a testing activity. It is just an example. So you provide training to an inexperienced tester so the person can go and do more testing. Or
But which base they decide to determine the how non-testing activity?
yes, risks. So as for example, I give you again the same example. There is some data breach and some more security testing required. Yes.
Uh,
We do not have any proper experienced security testers, then we might be able to train someone so they can do more testing. Yes, security testing. Another example, user unable to transfer the fund. The the new person who has joined the organization does not know how the actual transaction occurs. For you,
so it is
yeah, go on.
based on performance. It is determined.
Yes, based on the
Perform.
risks we determine, not the performance. Based on the risk we will determine.
Okay.
And based on the risks we determine helps to determine when to start and stop testing. Based on the risk the application going to face, the management can stakeholders can make decisions. At this stage, we will start testing, and at this stage, we will stop testing. Yes.
Yes.
Any question?
No.
You can ask. You have so many questions. I know. If you want me to explain, I can explain you again. Okay, let's quickly go through this one. So each and every organization, okay, it's called industry.
Bijay,
Yes.
but we have to wait that, for example, a user cannot log in. So we have to wait. Is it login or not? Then we have to determine. Is
N-
not time wasted then?
No, we don't determine like this. What happens when we have the requirement? From the requirement, we prepare this list. We won't wait until the product has been delivered. This list risk analysis report is prepared from the requirements well in advance. Risk
Means
and
before delivery the product.
yes, risk analysis report produced before well in advance from the requirements. Yes. Again, the requirements might have some functions to perform. Yes. Not
Yes.
might. Requirements have functions to perform. Do you understand this?
Yes. Yes.
If you have a calculator, it has to do. If I ask you to build a calculator for addition, then it will be able to do 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Agree?
Yes.
This is known as calculation is performed. Yes.
Yeah.
Now the requirements wants to do subtraction, addition. Then what it could be the risk? The risk I paid the calculator might
Subtract or addiction.
not be able to perform the addition correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
So this is what we can say. The calculator. So we have the requirements. So when you are working from online banking for online banking requirements, these are the just standard risk I have prepared so we can understand. But for online banking database, or you can say table A, might be holding usernames. Yes, storing usernames. Table B holding storing passwords. Yes.
Yes.
Then table C storing banking bank account details. I will say yeah
Yes.
details. Table D storing transaction details. Yes.
Yes.
Table E might be storing balance details. Bank balance. Yes. So if you think that one table is there, it will have everything. No, it is not possible. There might be hundreds of tables. Yes.
Okay.
Bank details might be what type of bank account, and another thing, the customer details. So I can name five, but there will be hundreds of tables, and these tables are coming from different databases. Yes.
Yes.
So they communicate. Now it goes to somewhere else, to a different service, and these different services communicate, they are integrated, and they fetch and transfer the data to different services, and from these different services you get this detail. So first you have the requirement. Yes,
Yes.
first requirements. First let me say high level requirement. Yes, then you have low level requirements, then you have the structure, architecture, or you can say structure, structure of the application. Yes,
Yes.
then the structure will tell you in details how the application works, how the application works. Yes, so based on the requirements you have high level risk, you can say risks from requirements. Yes, you add some services, services. Yeah, then you have the low level, how database tables and everything is done. So some risks come from this low level requirement. Yes,
Yes.
and what if some service is down? Yes,
Yes.
understood.
Yes.
These all things, when they design so well in advance, the risk analysis report is prepared. It is not that we are going to wait.
Okay.
Understood? Until the system is
Yes.
built, the risk analysis people, they may get more money one way. Okay, their work. So they literally go and analyze each and every requirement. You analyze each and every requirement as a tester to do, to design the test cases. Yes,
Yes.
yes. However, these people, they analyze the requirement to analyze the risks. Understood?
Yeah.
Risks and prepare risk analysis report. So simple, they go by the functionalities and the question, what if, what if the functions or function does not work? Yes, that's it. From the structure, what if the integration issues are there and we are unable to gather data? What if the service is down or services are down and we are unable to get the data? Yes.
Yeah.
So these all things come from the high level management. They go by each and every requirement and then prepare what they need to do. Any question?
No.
So this is how it is. Not we have to wait. When I say the user is unable to log in, user, so we won't go and ask the user, are you able to log in? Yes,
Yeah.
or when we test it, no, this is coming well in advance. Yes,
Yes.
let's go to the next. Okay, so when you prepare risk analysis report, you need to have the disciplined approach for that. Based on this disciplined approach, you can make a list. How? So let's discuss this one. Disciplined approach for risk analysis, preparing the risk analysis report. So you assess based on the requirement, you assess what can go wrong. That what can go wrong is a risk. That what can go wrong is a risk. Yes.
Yeah.
So I explain you this one in detail how they can what they
Yeah.
determine what risks are important to deal with. In this, they determine what risks are important to deal with. Yes,
Yeah.
what risks are important to deal with. Like, what is the way level of occurring? So, assess likelihood of the risk occurring. Assess likelihood of the risks occurring. Yes,
Yeah.
you also assess its impact. If this risk occurs, if anything goes wrong, how much impact it will have on the business and how much impact it will have on the product. Yes.
Okay.
Next, implement actions to deal with those risks. Now you need to decide what are we going to implement actions to deal with those risks. So how we can to reduce likelihood? So what we need to decide, if any risk occurs, we need to plan how we can mitigate the risk. Yes,
Yeah.
how we can mitigate the risks. And if we have planned to mitigate the risk, what it will do? Plan to mitigate the risks. What it will happen? It will reduce its likelihood. Yes, to reduce likelihood and its impact. Based on that, if risk occurs, then what we are going to so make on that make have contingency plan. Yes, if this occurs, how we are going to tackle or mitigate. Yes, so that plan is known contingency plans. And this risk, we have to risk analysis should be done on regular basis. Why do we need to do regular risk on regular basis? You have risk today, the same risk it won't you won't face tomorrow. Yes, it might be a different way. Understood?
Yes.
So based on that, you are going to analyze on regular basis all our the new risk we have. Yes,
Yes.
what we'll do with this risk, because today the virus is different, tomorrow the virus might be different. Yes,
Yeah.
and based on that, you are going to do your all your risk analysis on regular basis. Any question?
No.
Let's go to the next. The next we will discuss is a new topic, defect management. Okay, I have a question now. I have answered it, but I will ask you how much you understand about the risk. What is the risk management and why do we need to do it? Can you explain me?
What is the risk management? When any adverse effects occurs and how we have to deal with is called risk management. I mean, is to mitigate to risk.
Yes, that is correct.
Uh,
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Nothing wrong.
Thank you.
So, we have the requirement as I discussed earlier. Yes, those
Yes.
things we have to make a list what can go wrong with the product. Based on that, we have the report, and that report we need to
Mitigate risk.
use and try to mitigate those risks, and that will be called mitigating the risk, and that is also known as managing risk management.
Yes.
Do now I have a question. How you are going to use this report to mitigate this risk?
When deliver the product for final testing or something.
Okay, how do you know how much testing is required based on the risks? And how do you decide how many test cases or how much coverage do we need based on the
Based
risks?
on perform and product risk analysis.
Yes, we have the risk analysis report. Based
Yeah.
on that, we can decide how much testing do we need.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go to the defect management. What is defect management?
When we find defect and we have to resolve them, it's called management.
Yeah. So during our
And
testing activity, we will identify some defects. We will find some defects. Yes.
yeah.
So we need to manage those defects. We need to follow them up until they are fixed, and if required, re and regression do re and regression testing. They're all part of defect management. So let okay. So in the first thing we need to keep in mind is try to avoid reporting false positives as defects. Yes, this we need to keep in mind.
What false positive as
Yes,
a
so
defect
if
mean?
we find some functionalities while testing, we do not consider them as defects. Yes,
When we find any functionality.
yes, sometimes the developers might not be building, but there might be some new functions it might help. So these kind of things should not be.
Okay.
Yes. So when we can raise defects, yes, when to raise defects.
Okay.
So we can raise defect during development. So when you are building the product, at that phase you can build it. Yes,
Yeah.
when you are building, you can do it.
Yes. Means build the software at that time.
Yes, when the developer are building the software, they are working on coding. At that phase, you can raise defects. Another during reviews, when you are reviewing any kind of documents, so at that level, you can raise the defects. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
During testing, actual test execution, yes, everything is testing, but here you need to understand when you are doing test execution, you will raise defects. So your test fail and you find something does not work. Yes.
Yeah.
During use, the application is live. Yes. And somebody is using that during that level or that at that level we can raise defects. So the end user can identify this kind of issue, something does not work. So you can raise defect at that level. Against what you need to raise defect? You can raise a defect or defects. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can raise a defect against the code because the
Okay.
code does not work. It does not perform what it has to do. So against the code, you can raise a defect.
Okay.
You can raise the defect against the system because the system is not performing what it has to do. So you raise against the
Mhm.
systems, and you raise against the documents. Test plan is incorrect, test cases are incorrect, the requirement document is incorrect. So against any kind of documents you are reviewing, you can raise the defects. Any question?
No.
Clear?
Yes.
Definitely no question. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next. What causes these defects? We have discussed in chapter 1. Do you remember?
Chapter 1.
Yes, what causes these defects? Or you can say causes of defects, sort as a title. Causes of software defect. Do you remember what causes these defects?
No.
Do you remember environment fault? Humans are fallible and we make errors, and from that these defects come here. Okay, so you need to keep software defect. So one software defect. The software you are using might not be functioning as per expectation. So these are the software defects. Test fault. Your test cases are incorrect. Your test data incorrect. Test fault. Or the procedure you have, how you are executing the test cases is incorrect. They are all test fault. Yes, test data fault means the test data you are going to use or using, they are incorrect. Environment fault. You have not configured the environment correctly. Some database configuration require, but that database configuration is not done properly, and that's why you can see environment fault.
Okay.
Yes. Test specification fault. So the test specification we have, they are at incorrect. They are incorrect. Yes.
Okay.
The test procedures, how to do testing, these are all incorrect, and that's why we find defects and raise incidents.
Yeah.
So these incidents have many causes. Yes, whatever the incidents you raise or defect, it can be any causes.
Okay.
The fact that the actual outcomes do not match expected outcome requires investigation. Whenever you execute the test cases or whenever you review the document, you have some expected results. And when the actual result does not match the expected result, you say it's a defect. Yes, and that needs investigation. And when you investigate, it might not be a software fault, it might be the user's error. It does not necessarily mean that the software is at fault. It could be that our expectations were wrong. We might be expecting something wrong due to a test design error or a faulty specification. Might have the requirement incorrect, or the test data incorrect, or test case incorrect, and that's why. Yes.
Yeah.
It may be that the test was carried out incorrectly. The test execution might be incorrect. The procedure we have, the sequence we are executing the test cases is incorrect, might be. Yeah?
Yes.
Sometimes or most of the time, often the cause is an environment problem. The server was offline or the data had not been loaded. Yes. So the database tables and everything, the environment might not have been correctly configured, and that's why we find defects, and the incidents we need, they all should be investigated. Yes. Any question?
Yes.
Now
No.
we have done. Yeah, go on. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I thought, I assume you don't have any question. Do you have any question?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go on. Hello.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Yes,
I'm saying, do you have any question?
no,
Okay, let's go to the next one. Yes, then.
yeah.
The next one we are going to discuss is defect. We have prepared the now we have analyzed everything. So we need to prepare the defect report. Yes. So what are the objectives of defect report? What are the defect report objectives? Provide developers and other parties with feedback. This defect report provide developers and other whatever test management all the parties with feedback. What feedback? The performance of the software. Yes,
Yes.
you can use that line. Or how stable the software is. Yes, how stable the software is. So it provides the feedback related to the software. Enable identification, isolation, and correction of defects. This defect report objective is enable identification to identify the defect. Yes, identify the defects. Isolate the defects. What exactly isolate the defect means? What exactly causing this particular issue or the defects? What is the exact cause of the defect? And this is called isolating a defect. Now you isolated the defect, so you can say correction of the defects. Yes. Then you can correct the defect when you isolate what exactly causing you identify it and fix it. That is called correction. So the defect report objective is to identify defect, isolate the defect and fix it, correct it. Yes.
Yeah.
It provides test leaders to track this this defect report provides a means for test leaders. Any leader is there, yes, to track the quality of the system. Yes, how many defects are there, how many defects are fixed, etc. And the performance, you can say again the same. The progress of testing, again the same thing. How many requirements are covered, how many test cases executed, how many defects found, how many defects fixed. Based on that, we see the progress of the testing activities or testing. And it helps with ideas to improve test processes. Yes, we might be doing something wrong, and when we do defect analysis we identify the defect, our process test processes are incorrect, and this help you to improve these processes. And this defect management defect report should be comprehensive. The defect report should be comprehensive. It should cover literally everything. Yes.
Okay.
So it helps all the stakeholders to make decisions on when to stop testing or how much testing is required. Any question?
What is the main benefit of this one? Defect report. We can just find out defects.
No. This is what we have discussed, the benefits of, as for example, you find the defects. So you know the
Yeah.
progress. Yes, you have the report. In the report, it says that how much testing is done, how many defects we found, how many defects are fixed, how many defects are open, how many defects deferred. Yes, based on that, you can decide the stability of the software, the quality of the software, and based on this, you make decision when to stop testing and release the product. The biggest benefit is to decide when to release the product.
Okay.
Agree?
Yes, agree.
So the biggest, you decide based on this defect management report or defect report, you make decisions when to release the product or when to stop testing.
Okay.
Any question?
No.
Okay, let's discuss the typical defect report template. Yes, kind. So what should be there in the defect report? Yes. So the defect report should have date and time when the report was prepared. Yes.
Okay.
The person who is issuing or writing the report, so issuing organization and author who wrote this, who prepared this report. Yes, the
Yes.
organization. Test
Yes.
item and environment. On what environment we have tested this test case execution done and what items we have executed. Yes, what is
Yes.
the specific functionality or area we have tested and what environment means the build version. Yes, the software version. Life cycle process in which it was discovered. Life cycle process in which it was observed or discovered. Yes. At what level did we find this defect, during acceptance testing or the system integration testing or system testing? Yes. We have to describe, we need to provide description of the report to enable reproduction of these defects and resolution. How we can reproduce these defects? So as a part of that, we have to provide the defect logs, database dumps, or screenshots. We need to provide these information so these defects can be reproduced. Yes, agree.
Yes. This one. Who wrote the defect report template?
This template is a standard ISTQB covered that you can cover these many things in the defect report. So the
Means
I
who made the defects report?
who prepares is the test leader prepares.
Days later.
Yeah. So the author could be test lead.
Okay.
Okay. This test lead prepares this defect report and provides to all the stakeholders. Next, degree
Okay.
of impact on stakeholders' interest. Yes, we need to provide degree of impact on stakeholders' interest. Based on the stakeholders' interest, we need to give what impact it will have when we have the outstanding defects or based on the risks. Yes. Severity of impact. We need to provide the severity of the impact. How severe it is. Yes. How much issue it can cause. It, if we have any outstanding defects and we have not fixed them, we have deferred them, then we need to provide that how much impact it will have on the product if we release the product. Based on the stakeholders report, we have to give how much detail, that is one, and second is severity, urgency and priority to fix. Based on the requirements, priority, based on the risks, we have to provide the urgency, how urgent these defects are to be fixed. Yes, and priority. Status of incident. So these defects are known as incidents and it has to have a different status, like open. When we raise it, sometimes when we raise it, it becomes new. And then when it is goes to the development team, they open it. It becomes, but you can say open. Deferred. When the development team decides not to fix that defect, they defer it. They say, we will fix this in the next release or we will fix this in the upcoming release. Yes. When it is assigned a defect to a developer, the status is changed to waiting to fix. The developer has not fixed it, but it is waiting to be fixed. One status. When the developer fixed it, then it is a fixed, but it has a status called awaiting retest. So when the developer fixes the defects, we need to retest it. So the status could be fixed, retest. And when we have retested and we are happy, then we can close it. So it's closed. It can be other different status based on the organization, but these are the standard defect statuses. Conclusions and recommendations and approvals. Yes, conclusions and recommendations and approvals. When we conclude the report, we have to give conclusions what you have stated during the report, and you need to give the approvals and recommendations what you are recommending, what more testings, yeah, what needs to be done or more testing should be done on the certain areas. And the approvals, the release product, these products or these many requirements are fine, so you can say we are fine to release them, so they are approvals. Any global issues you are facing with the testing? Yes, recruitment issues, any test environment issues you have, you need to mention that. You need to give all the change histories. Yes, version by version wise. So it will be a list in that you give in the defect management defect report, you give the change when this defect was raised, when this defect was fixed, and the references you need to provide for, like test case ID. If you find the defect or the reference number, step number, you need to provide this particular test case fail. So this is the ID of the test case fail at this particular step, this test case fail. These many things you need to provide in the defect report. If the organization wants more things to be provided, then you will provide more things. But this is the typical defect report and this is a template. This can be used by any organization in the defect report.
So this recorded.
Any question?
Is it compulsory to everything we have to include in the report?
It based on the organization's policy, what the manager wants, what the stakeholders want. Yes,
Yeah.
you can omit some of the things or you can add some of the things. It is based on the
Mm,
management.
think- Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any question?
No.
And that ends the chapter number